Close your eyes, take a slow, deep breath, and let the gentle quiet of the evening settle around you. Allow the noise of the modern world to fade away, step by step, leaving only the calm, rhythmic rise and fall of your breathing. Welcome to Sleepy Space Stories. If you enjoy unwinding with these peaceful journeys through time, please take a soft moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel to join our nightly voyages. Now, sink comfortably into your space, let go of the day, and let us begin our journey back to the very beginning, to Chapter 1, Dawn of Time. Imagine the universe in its earliest infancy, a boundless dark ocean punctuated only by the distant, silent birth of stars. Here, in a remote corner of a spinning spiral galaxy, a cosmic cloud of dust and primordial gas begins to pull itself together. Gravity, that quiet and invisible weaver, gently draws particles of stone and iron across the dark expanse. For millions of years, in a ballet so slow and grand it defies human measurement, these fragments collide and coalesce. Smaller stones yield to larger bodies, drawn into a swirling disk of fire and dust. Out of this chaotic cosmic dance, a sphere begins to take shape. This is our home, but it is a home completely unrecognizable to us. 4.5 billion years ago, Earth is born not in green fields or gentle blue seas, but in the white-hot crucible of primordial creation. Look down upon this newborn world through the quiet void of space. There are no clouds yet, no swirling white storms over blue oceans, no emerald continents resting beneath a soft blue horizon. Instead, you see a glowing globe of liquid rock pulsing with incandescent heat in the dark. The surface is a vast, churning sea of magma, glowing with deep shades of crimson, gold, and vibrant orange. Great plumes of liquid stone surge upward from the interior, breaking through the thin, cooling crust like waves upon a shore of fire. Every force in the universe seems focused on this single point in space. Comets and massive asteroids, remnants of the solar system's violent birth, rain down continuously from the darkness above. Each impact unleashes unimaginable energy, carving brilliant craters into the molten surface and sending glowing sprays of vaporized rock high into the dark sky. It is a spectacle of sheer, raw power, yet viewed from far above, it moves with a mesmerizing, almost tranquil slowness. Feel the heat radiating off this young world, a deep and ancient warmth that carries the energy of creation itself. The air is thick and heavy, saturated with toxic gases that belch from the molten crust: carbon dioxide, nitrogen, water vapor, and sulfurous fumes. The sky is not the tranquil blue we know, but a deep, bruised shade of rust and copper, lit from below by the endless glow of the liquid landscape. There is no day or night as we understand them, only a perpetual, haunting twilight, born of fire and thick, impenetrable atmosphere. And yet, despite the violence of its creation, a quiet transformation is already beginning. As the centuries drift past like silent clouds, the frequency of the celestial bombardments begins to slow. The chaotic debris of the early solar system is gradually cleared away. The void grows quieter, calmer, and the young planet enters a new phase of its long journey. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the relentless heat begins to radiate out into the vast, freezing vacuum of space. The outer layer of the magma ocean, exposed to the cold darkness of the cosmos, begins to cool. At first, it is merely a dulling of the bright orange glow to a darker, deeper red. Then, thin skins of dark rock begin to form upon the liquid surface, floating like rafts of shadow on a sea of fire. These early crusts are fragile. They fracture and melt, swallowed back down into the churning interior, only to form again as the cooling continues. Thousands of years pass in this delicate balance, a slow rhythm of freezing and melting, rising and sinking. But gravity and time are patient. With every passing epoch, the planet loses a fraction more of its surface heat. The crust becomes thicker, darker, and more resilient. The sea of molten rock recedes beneath a dark shell of basalt, leaving behind a jagged, desolate expanse of black volcanic stone. If you were to stand upon this young world now, the landscape would look like a dream of an alien realm. Jagged mountain ranges of black rock stretch into the dim distance, carved by glowing fissures where liquid earth still bleeds through the cracks. Towering volcanoes, massive and dark, dominate the horizon. They stand as silent sentinels, venting enormous plumes of white steam and dark ash into the heavy, crimson atmosphere. The air is thick, warm, and heavy with moisture, pressuring the dark stone below. There is no wind like the wind we know, no breeze rustling through leaves, no air carrying the scent of pine or damp earth. The wind here carries the smell of iron, copper, and sulfur, sweeping softly over the endless black basalt. And in this world, there is a profound, absolute silence. It is a silence so deep it feels physical, a stillness that has never been broken by a single creature. There are no birds to call to one another across the morning sky. There are no insects to hum in the evening warmth. There are no leaves to rustle, no trees to creak in the wind, no footsteps to disturb the black dust settled upon the volcanic plains. The only sounds are the deep, rhythmic rumbles of the earth itself, the low, bass resonance of a volcano breathing steam into the dark sky, and the soft crackle of cooling rock contracting beneath the heavy air. As the planet continues to cool, a magnificent change takes place high above the volcanic wastes. The immense heat that once kept the atmosphere boiling begins to ease its grip. The water vapor, released for millions of years from the cooling rocks and brought by countless icy comets, can no longer remain entirely in gaseous form. High in the heavy atmosphere, where the air meets the cold, dark of space, the vapor begins to condense. Thick, heavy clouds begin to gather. They roll across the copper sky in vast, endless blankets, darkening the horizon until the last faint light of the distant sun is filtered into a gentle, silvery haze. The clouds grow heavier, denser, holding within them the moisture of an entire planet's atmosphere. And then it begins. A single drop of water falls from the heavy clouds, descending through the warm air toward the dark rock below. It hits the hot basalt with a gentle hiss, evaporating instantly back into steam. But another drop follows, and then another, and another. Soon, the sky opens completely. It is a rain unlike anything the world will ever see again. A downpour of unfathomable proportions begins to fall upon the black continent. It does not rain for hours or days or weeks. It rains for years, then centuries, then millions of years. A continuous, gentle deluge cascades from the sky, washing over the jagged peaks of basalt and carving deep paths through the pristine volcanic stone. Imagine the sound of that endless rain, a soft, steady, hypnotic patter falling across an entire world. The water cascades down the dark mountain slopes, gathering into small rivulets that glisten in the dim light. These rivulets flow together, forming streams that roar down through basalt canyons, carrying dissolved minerals and ancient salts with them on their downward journey. The streams merge into vast, rushing rivers that carve their way across the wide, dark plains. For millions of years, the rain continues to fall, cooling the rocks ever further, soothing the ancient heat of the planet's violent birth. The water collects in the vast, low-lying basins of dark rock that cover the globe. At first, they are shallow, warm pools, steaming softly in the heavy air. But as the rivers continue to pour their endless burdens into these basins, the pools grow wider and deeper. They merge, spreading across thousands of miles, covering the basalt floor of the world. The shallow pools become wide lakes, and the lakes expand into massive, unbroken seas. Eventually, the endless rain begins to ease. The heavy blanket of clouds, having surrendered its immense burden of water, grows lighter, breaking apart for the very first time in the history of the world. Through the parting clouds, a soft, warm sunlight filters down, illuminating a world that has been completely transformed. Where there was once a world of fire and molten rock, there is now a blue world. An immense, unbroken ocean covers almost the entire surface of the planet. Small, dark volcanic islands still break through the surface here and there, plumes of soft steam rising from their peaks. But the dominating feature of the Earth is now water, a vast, serene, liquid horizon stretching as far as the eye can see. Step closer to the edge of this ancient ocean, stand upon the dark basalt shore, and watch the gentle waves roll in. The water is warm, rich with dissolved minerals, iron and salts, giving it a deep emerald green hue under the pale sun. The tides are immense, pulled by a moon that is much closer to the Earth than it is today, hanging large and luminous in the sky. The waves rise and fall in a slow, tranquil rhythm. They crash softly against the black rocks, breaking into white foam that lathers over the dark stone before receding back into the depths. The sound of the surf is soft and steady, shh, 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 a timeless lullaby played by the sea against the silent shore. Look out across the surface of the primordial ocean. It is smooth, vast, and completely still between the swell of the tides. There are no sails, no ships, no leaping fish to break the water's surface, no whales singing in the dark depths below. Below the surface, the water is crystal clear near the shallow shore, growing darker and deeper as it drops away into the abyssal trenches. This is a world of absolute, pristine purity, a world untouched, untamed, and completely at peace. The sky above has turned a soft, pale indigo, free of pollution, clear and vast. The sun rises and sets over an empty horizon, casting long ribbons of gold and amber across the endless green waters. At night, the stars shine with an intense, brilliant clarity, unfiltered by city lights or dust, mirrored perfectly in the dark, undulating surface of the sea. In the deep quiet of this primordial world, time seems to stand still. Millions of years pass like quiet shadows across the face of the deep. The mountains gently erode into the sea. The volcanoes slowly sleep. The tides continue their endless, soothing dance beneath the watchful eye of the moon. It is a time of profound rest for the young planet, a long period of waiting. Everything is prepared. The cradle is built. The atmosphere has cooled. The land has settled. The oceans are full and warm, rich with every element needed for the great story that is about to unfold. The world sits in quiet anticipation, resting in the peaceful darkness, waiting for the spark that will change everything forever. Deep beneath the surface of the green ocean, far below the reach of the pale sunlight, lies the ocean floor. Here, in the pitch-black darkness of the abyssal plains, the Earth's inner heat still pulses softly. Great hydrothermal vents, like delicate towers of dark stone, rise from the ocean bed. From their summits, warm, mineral-rich fluids billow out into the cold seawater, creating gentle plumes of heat and chemistry in the dark. Around these deep-sea chimneys, in the calm, warm waters, sheltered from the harsh radiation of the surface world, microscopic elements float gently in the currents. Molecules of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen drift together, carried by the subtle warmth of the earth below. They collide, join, and separate in an endless, quiet dance. For eons, this subtle dance continues in the dark. Nothing moves with urgency. Everything moves with the slow, majestic patience of the universe. And then, in the deep quiet of an forgotten night, near the base of an ancient volcanic vent, something extraordinary begins to happen. A collection of complex molecules, guided by the fundamental laws of nature and the gentle warmth of the water, forms a structure unlike anything that has existed before. It is tiny, invisible to the human eye, fragile beyond measure, yet it carries within it a subtle, miraculous new property. It does not merely exist, it responds. It holds itself together against the dark water, drawing in the warmth and chemistry around it. A gentle, microscopic stirring begins in the silent sea. It is the very first whisper of life, a tiny, fragile flame lit in the vast, cold darkness of a silent world. It is the humble beginning of a story that will span billions of years, a story that will fill the empty lands with green forests, the skies with soaring wings, and the oceans with majestic giants. Chapter 2, First Life. When we last looked upon our world, it was an endless expanse of liquid emerald, cradled under a pale indigo sky. The great oceans sat undisturbed, rolling in smooth, heavy swells against shores of pitch-black volcanic rock. There were no trees to rustle in the wind, no animals to leave footprints in the dark sand, no birds to cut through the stillness above. The world was vast, silent, and empty. Yet beneath the calm surface of those ancient waters, something profound had taken root. A subtle spark, delicate as a whisper, glowing softly in the dark. Imagine drifting above that primordial sea, suspended in the cool twilight air. From high above, the planet looks like a polished stone of deep teal and jade, wrapped in faint ribbons of white cloud that drift lazily across the horizon. The vastness of the water is dizzying in its stillness. There are no continents as we know them today, no jagged snow-capped ranges or sweeping green plains, only dark, scattered volcanic archipelagos rising like silent shadows from the deep, crowned with soft plumes of white steam that drift into the calm sky. The sun rises with a gentle, pale warmth, painting a long ribbon of liquid gold across the mirror-like surface of the sea. It moves slowly across the sky, casting softly shifting light upon a world that seems frozen in time. As the daylight fades, the sun dips beneath the rim of the world without a sound, yielding to a night illuminated by a massive, luminous moon. The moonlight catches the crests of the low, undulating waves, sending ripples of silver shimmering across thousands of miles of unbroken water. To an observer standing upon the black stone shores, the world would seem utterly devoid of activity. It would feel like a planetary waiting room, a cosmic vessel holding its breath in the dark. But if you were to sink slowly beneath the surface of that warm, mineral-rich sea, a hidden reality would begin to unfold before your eyes. Descending into the water, the heavy silence of the upper atmosphere yields to a deep, resonant calm. The light from above filters down through the liquid green haze, scattering into soft, shimmering sunbeams that dance in the clear water. As you drift downward into the sunlit shallow bays, where the warm water laps gently against smooth basalt ledges, you begin to see the first true miracles of our world, clustered along the shallow sea floor, resting in the soft currents like ancient underwater gardens, are strange, rounded structures made of dark stone and velvet-like layers. They look like smooth domes or giant grey cushions carved from the earth itself, rising up from the seabed in quiet, orderly clusters. These are the stromatolites, the monumental architectures of the early world. Look closer at these tranquil structures. They are not mere rocks carved by the tide. They are living castles, built microscopic grain by microscopic grain by billions of simple, single-celled organisms working together across generations beyond count. Within these soft, textured cushion mounds, microscopic communities of cyanobacteria dwell in harmonious balance. They are tiny beyond human imagination, simple sacs of water and light, yet they possess a quiet magic that will forever alter the destiny of the earth. Watch how the sunlight catches the surface of these ancient bacterial mats. Millions of microscopic bubbles, tiny as pinpricks of light, form along the velvet edges of the stromatolites. They glisten like liquid pearls in the underwater sunbeams. One by one, as they grow buoyant in the warm water, these tiny bubbles break free from the mats and begin their long, slow journey upward toward the sky. They float gently through the clear green water, rising past the quiet rock formations, dancing in the subtle currents, until they reach the surface and vanish into the air above. This tiny bubble, so delicate that the gentlest ripple dissolves it into nothingness, carries within it a fragment of pure oxygen. It is a humble byproduct of a quiet process, a simple act of gathering light and turning it into life. But repeated trillions upon trillions of times, across millions of square miles of shallow seas, every single day for eons, These tiny bubbles are quietly rewriting the chemistry of the planet. For millions of years, the atmosphere above had been heavy, dark, and rich with carbon, sulfur, and nitrogen, an atmosphere that could never sustain the air-breathing creatures of the future. The air was a thick blanket holding in the ancient heat. But now, in the sunlit shallows of the world, these microscopic gardens are breathing out a new morning. Molecule by molecule, grain by grain, the cyanobacteria harvest the gentle sunlight streaming through the water. They take in the carbon from the air and the water, weave it into their simple bodies, and release oxygen as a soft, silent gift to the world. Imagine the sheer patience of this transformation. Human lives are measured in hours, days, and fleeting years. We see the seasons turn, the leaves fall, the winter snows melt away into spring. But the rhythm of the primordial earth moves at a pace so slow, so vast, that human thought can scarcely hold it. Millions of years pass like single heartbeats. Centuries melt into one another like falling snow on a deep lake. During all this time, the world remains quiet. There are no sudden revolutions, no dramatic leaps across the landscape. The stromatolites grow by fractions of a millimeter over decades, building their stony towers slowly toward the light. The tides rise and fall under the pull of the close, bright moon, washing over the bacterial mats, bringing them fresh minerals, and retreating into the deep blue distance. Above the surface, the sky begins to subtly change. As the centuries pile upon centuries, the heavy, copper-red haze of the ancient atmosphere slowly clears. The endless release of oxygen begins to react with the vast reservoirs of iron dissolved in the emerald oceans. Deep beneath the waves, a magnificent process takes place. The dissolved iron, which had given the ancient seas their green hue, unites with the oxygen released by the tiny bacterial mats. As they combine, fine particles of rusty red dust begin to form in the clear water, floating down through the depths like a gentle, endless snowfall of crimson rain. For age upon age, this crimson snow falls through the quiet sea, settling upon the dark basalt floor of the ocean. Layer upon layer of red iron and pale silica build up in the deep trenches, pressing down under the immense weight of the water above, turning over millions of years into thick banded ribbons of stone. These ancient iron formations, laid down by the quiet breath of microscopic life in a world without eyes to see them, will remain locked in the earth for billions of years, waiting in the dark until the far future. As the iron in the oceans is slowly cleared, swept down into the deep sea bed, the water itself undergoes a breathtaking transformation. The emerald green of the primordial sea clears, deepening into shades of turquoise, cobalt, and profound sapphire blue. The oceans become a vast mirror, reflecting a sky that is becoming clearer and lighter with every passing epoch. Up above, the bruised copper tone of the sky softens. It shifts into pale violet, then into a gentle, dusty lavender, and finally into the soft, tranquil blue we know today. The sun, once filtered through heavy volcanic smog, now shines with a crisp, golden brilliance, casting sharp sunbeams through the clear blue waters down to the quiet stromatolite reefs below. Yet, despite this grand transformation, the world remains a sanctuary of absolute peace. Imagine floating in the middle of this young blue ocean, far from any shore, at the midpoint of a forgotten afternoon 3 billion years ago. The air is warm and fresh, carrying the clean, crisp scent of salt and ocean spray. The sky above is a seamless dome of pristine blue, completely free of cloud or haze. The water around you is so clear you can see down hundreds of feet into the deep, dark indigo below, where the ocean floor rests in eternal shadow. There is no sound except the gentle, rhythmic lap of small waves against one another, a soft, whispering slap, slap, splash that repeats endlessly across the open sea. There are no fish beneath your feet, no shadows of great sea creatures gliding through the blue, no jellyfishes trailing delicate tentacles in the tide. If you were to dip a crystal cup into the water, it would look completely pure, as clear as glass. Yet that single cup of water holds millions of invisible lives, tiny, elegant spheres and delicate threads of life floating in the blue, carrying within their microscopic walls the entire future of our living world. They are the quiet guardians of the planet, sleeping, dividing, floating, and breathing their tiny bubbles of life into the vastness of the sea. As the sun begins to set on this peaceful afternoon, the sky turns shades of soft rose, peach, and lavender. The light stretches long and golden across the blue water, illuminating the low crests of the ocean waves. The vast sea catches the warm colors of the sky, turning into a shimmering field of rose gold that gently rises and falls in the calm breeze. Night returns to the world, slow and quiet. The sun sinks beneath the dark, circular rim of the sea, and the first stars begin to appear in the darkening sky. Without the smog of the ancient world, the stars shine with an intense, icy brilliance. They fill the night sky from horizon to horizon, a glittering tapestry of silver dust suspended in the deep void. The large, bright moon rises over the eastern horizon, casting a silver path across the ocean that reaches all the way to where you rest. The cool night air settles over the sea, and the shallow stromatolite reefs grow dark and quiet, bathed in the gentle moonlight. Deep beneath the dark surface of the sea, the tiny bubbles continue to form, one by one. Rise, drift, pop, a soft, endless rhythm of life, quietly working in the dark, laying the foundation for everything that will ever be. Hundreds of millions of years will pass in this quiet fashion. Continents of black rock will slowly drift, break apart, and collide upon the glowing mantle below. Great volcanic chains will rise from the deep sea, spewing fresh stone into the water, only to be smoothed down again by the patient, endless rolling of the tides. The days will grow slightly longer as the moon slowly drifts further away into space, calming the ferocious tides of the early world into gentle, steady pulses. And through all these unfathomable stretches of time, life will remain small, patient, and persistent. It will not hurry. It does not need to rush. It holds all the time in the universe within its quiet, microscopic heart. It rests in the warm, cradling waters of the ancient seas, slowly changing the air, the water, and the stone, preparing the planet for the grand, wild dream that is yet to come. Every breath you take in the cool, quiet darkness of the night connects you back to those tiny, ancient bubbles rising through the sunlit green waters billions of years ago. You are part of that same long, unbroken thread of life that began in the warm dark of the primordial sea. The world back then was simple, peaceful, and still. It was a world that knew how to wait, how to rest, and how to allow time to unfold in its own gentle rhythm. Allow yourself to sink deeper into that same ancient stillness. Let go of the day, let go of the hours, and let go of time itself. The great dark ocean of sleep is stretching out before you, vast, calm, and welcoming. Close your eyes, feel the gentle swell of the ancient sea cradling you, and let yourself drift down, slowly and peacefully, into the quiet, starlit depths of rest. Chapter 3: The Cambrian Explosion. When we last drifted in these primordial waters, the world was a vast, tranquil paradise of blue and green. For thousands of millions of years, the earth rested in a state of profound, meditative silence. Microscopic threads and simple mats of life worked in the quiet shallows, gently exhaling tiny bubbles of oxygen into the clear sea, slowly painting the sky blue and turning the emerald waters into sparkling crystal. It was a world of slow, patient simplicity, where time stretched out in unbroken stillness. Now, as we float forward into a new epoch, a sudden and magnificent awakening begins to ripple across the globe. Step back into those ancient waters, 500 million years before our time. The world is about to dream in colors, forms, and motions it has never known before. What was once a quiet sanctuary of simple cells is about to erupt into a breathtaking kaleidoscope of life, a brief, glorious moment in the story of our planet, known as the Cambrian Explosion. Imagine drifting gently beneath the surface of a shallow tropical sea. The sun above shines with a warm, golden radiance, casting long, dancing shafts of light down through crystal-clear turquoise waters. But as your eyes adjust to the underwater world, you realize that the peaceful, empty seabed of the past has vanished. The floor of the ocean is no longer a silent plain of dark volcanic rock and simple stony mounds. It has become an alien garden, teeming with shapes and designs so surreal, so wildly inventive, that they feel as though they belong to a distant world spinning around a far-off star. For the very first time in the history of the world, life has broken free from its microscopic bounds. It is experimenting, reaching out, and trying on endless new identities. Nature is acting like an artist who has just discovered a vast array of new colors and textures, scattering every imaginable design across the sea floor in a fit of wild, joyful creativity. As you float softly over the golden sands of the seabed, look down at the delicate creatures navigating the sunlit shallows. Here, crawling through the silt in smooth, methodical rhythms, are the very first trilobites. They move with an effortless grace, their bodies encased in hard, segmented suits of biological armor carved from the minerals of the sea. Their smooth, curved shells glisten like polished amber in the underwater light. Look closely at the front of a trilobite as it glides over a smooth stone. For the first time on planet Earth, something is looking back. Embedded in their hard outer shells are complex, faceted eyes made of pure calcite crystal, the very first true eyes in the history of life. Through these ancient crystal lenses, the world is no longer just a blind environment of temperature and chemistry. For the first time, light is gathered, focused, and turned into sight. The ocean is no longer dark and silent in the minds of its inhabitants. It has burst into a world of shapes, shadows, and movement. With the birth of sight, the quiet rules of the ancient world are rewritten forever. To see means to hunt, and to be seen means to be found. The peaceful, slow-moving paradise of the early oceans gives rise to a delicate, thrilling dance between light and shadow, speed and armor, predator and prey. Feel the gentle current sway you as you float higher into the sunlit water. Look around at the strange and delicate creatures sharing this vibrant realm. Crawling along the sea floor are creatures that defy every rule of modern biology. You see Hallucigenia, a tiny, dreamlike organism walking gently upon delicate, needle-like stilts, its soft body protected by a row of long, slender spines projecting upward into the water like a miniature forest. Nearby, strange, ribbon-like creatures with 5 crystalline eyes and a long, flexible nozzle drift lazily through the gentle current, sifting through the fine sand for food. This is the world captured in the ancient stone of the Burgess Shale, a forgotten moment when life tried every possible variation of form and function. Some creatures carry their skeletons on the outside, wrapped in delicate, jointed armor. Others are soft and translucent as blown glass, trailing delicate, feathery fronds through the water to catch the drifting light. There are creatures shaped like umbrellas, like delicate flowers carved from bone, like sprawling stars anchored to the seabed. And yet, despite the birth of this new, vibrant energy, the atmosphere of this ancient world remains deeply tranquil, wrapped in a profound underwater calm. The ocean does not roar. It hums with the soft, rhythmic swish of countless tiny limbs, the delicate rustle of shells brushing against smooth gravel, and the gentle, endless murmur of the tides rolling over the shallow reefs. As you glide further into the deep, transparent water, a shadow passes slowly overhead, blocking out the golden rays of the sun for a brief, mesmerizing second. Look up into the bright blue expanse above. Swimming gracefully through the open water is the undisputed monarch of this ancient realm, Anomalocaris, the strange and magnificent hunter of the Cambrian seas. It moves not with frantic power, but with a smooth, hypnotic undulation. Flexible, overlapping flaps along its sides ripple in a continuous, graceful wave, propelling its long, sleek body through the water like an aquatic mantle drifting on the wind. 2 large, complex eyes project from its head, scanning the sunlit shallows below with keen awareness. At the front of its body, 2 delicate, curled appendages reach forward, flexing with silent, fluid precision. Anomalocaris is the world's very first great predator, a giant of its time, measuring as long as a person's arm in a world where most life is no larger than a pebble. Yet, as you watch it move through the water, there is no terror here, only a deep, awe-inspiring beauty. It moves like a shadow across a moonlit landscape, an extraordinary masterwork of biological engineering, gliding effortlessly through a young, clear world. It is the pioneer of a new way of living, teaching the world how to swim, how to navigate, and how to balance the delicate scales of existence. Down below, on the seabed, the world responds to the presence of such giant wanderers. Creatures learn to bury themselves softly in the cool, protecting sand. Others wrap themselves in thicker, darker armor, folding their delicate limbs beneath heavy shields of mineral and lime. Some develop soft, glowing lures, or learn to flick their bodies through the water in sudden, darting bursts of speed, discovering the art of flight beneath the waves. Every movement, every adaptation, is a new thread woven into the expanding tapestry of life. Floating quietly in the warm, buoyant water, you begin to realize that this alien world is not as foreign as it first appears. Within these bizarre, dreamlike forms lie the quiet origins of everything we know today. Look closely at a tiny, translucent creature darting softly near the sandy bottom. It is humble, barely longer than a fingernail, lacking armor, claws, or crystal eyes. It looks like a sliver of pale silk drifting in the tide. Yet, running down the center of its soft, slender body is a tiny, flexible rod of stiff tissue, the very first primitive backbone. This fragile little swimmer, moving so gently through the Cambrian shallows, carries within its modest body the grand design for the future. From this simple, flexible rod will come the backbones of the first armored fish, the sprawling skeletons of the great dinosaurs, the wings of soaring eagles, and the spine that allows you to rest quietly in your bed tonight. You are looking at the distant, ancient ancestor of every creature that will ever walk upon the land, fly through the air, or dream beneath the stars. The Cambrian Ocean is a vast, living laboratory, a place where nature is dreaming aloud, trying every shape, every sensation, every possibility. It is an era of wild experimentation, yet it moves with the slow, soothing cadence of an ancient lullaby. Imagine sitting upon a smooth, dark ledge of basalt at the edge of a deep underwater drop-off. The water around you is perfectly temperate, cradling you in weightless comfort. Above, the golden sunlight filters through the surface in long, shimmering bands of silver and topaz. Below, the deep abyss stretches away into shades of indigo and soft, glowing violet. All around you, the sea is alive in ways it has never been before. Tiny trilobites scuttle over the rocks with soft, clicking steps, their crystal eyes reflecting the dancing light from above. Delicate sea lilies, rooted to the stone like flowers made of delicate feather and pearl, sway in slow, rhythmic sync with the deep ocean currents. Translucent, bell-shaped creatures drift through the blue, pulsing softly like beating hearts, trailing delicate strands that glow with faint, bioluminescent light in the shadows. There is a profound harmony to this ancient world. Though life has become complex, though hunters swim the open seas and armored creatures hide in the sand, it is all balanced in a quiet, timeless equilibrium. There are no sounds of technology, no harsh noises, no rush or hurry. The ocean breathes in slow, majestic pulses, powered by the eternal pull of the sun and the moon. As the afternoon sun begins its long, gentle descent toward the western horizon, the colors of the underwater world soften, The bright turquoise of the shallow bay deepens into shade of rich sapphire and emerald. The golden shafts of light skew at low angles, illuminating tiny particles of organic dust that float like suspended gold in the cool water. The creatures of the seabed begin to settle into the quiet rhythms of the evening. The trilobites roll themselves into tight, protective spheres of smooth armor, resting peacefully in the soft sand. The delicate sea lilies fold their feathery arms inward, closing like night-blooming flowers as the light fades. Anomalocaris glides down into the cool depths of the open sea, its long, rippling body dissolving smoothly into the dark indigo shadow of the abyssal plain. Above the water, the sky transforms into a masterpiece of deep rose, bruised violet, and warm amber. The sun touches the horizon, casting a long, glowing road of liquid fire across the calm, unbroken surface of the vast ocean. The air is cool, fresh, and pristine, carrying the clean scent of ocean foam and warm stone. One by one, as the golden light fades from the sky, the stars begin to emerge in the darkening vault above. Without a single light upon the vast continents of black stone and quiet sand, the sky shines with brilliant intensity. The Milky Way arches across the heavens like a river of silver dust, reflected perfectly on the glassy surface of the sea. Down below, beneath the starry mirror of the water, tiny specks of living light begin to glow. Millions of microscopic organisms, floating gently in the dark water, flash with soft green and blue light whenever a gentle wave ripples through them. The ocean becomes a reflection of the night sky, a sea of stars floating within a sea of water, dark, deep, and infinitely peaceful. This was our world 500 million years ago, a world that had learned how to see, how to feel, how to swim, and how to live in endless, breathtaking variety. It was alien, yet it was home. It was strange, yet it was the cradle of everything we carry within us today. As you lie here in the warm darkness of your room, feel your breath match the slow, timeless rhythm of that ancient sea. Inhale deeply, taking in the quiet calm of the night, and exhale slowly, letting go of every thought, every worry, and every weight of the day. You are part of this grand, unbroken story. The same oxygen that fueled the crystal eyes of the trilobite and the rippling fins of Anomalocaris flows gently through you now. The same ancient water that cradled the first humble backbone carries you forward into the quiet realm of sleep. The Cambrian Sea is resting now, its wild, creative dream folding softly into the dark, warm currents of time. The water is smooth, clear, and peaceful. The stars shine down upon a world that has never been so alive, yet has never been so deeply at rest. Allow your mind to drift down into those dark, sunlit depths, floating weightlessly among the delicate fronds and glowing waters of the past. Feel yourself sinking softly, safely, into the peaceful abyss of sleep, surrounded by the quiet wonder of a living world, fast asleep in the arms of the timeless sea. Chapter 4: Age of Fish. The air around you is calm, warm, and safe. Together, we are stepping beyond the distant horizon of human memory once more, slipping back through the long, silent corridors of time to return to a world of deep water and endless blue. When we last drifted in these ancient waters, during the bright awakening of the Cambrian, the sea was an alien tapestry of strange and wonderful experiments. Life was trying on 1,000 fragile shapes: crystal eyes, jointed armor, soft floating ribbons, and delicate feather-like fronds. And among them, almost unnoticed in the shadow of giants, swam a tiny, translucent sliver of pale silk, holding within its soft body the very first flexible spine. Now, as we float forward through millions of forgotten years into the Silurian and the sweeping expanse of the Devonian period, that humble backbone has become the axis around which the entire living world revolves. Welcome to the age of fish, a time when the deep ocean, once governed by spineless monsters and floating shelled beasts, becomes the realm of true vertebrates. Imagine floating gently in the sunlit upper reaches of a tropical Devonian ocean. 400 million years ago, the sky above is a pale, pristine blue, swept by soft white clouds that drift lazily across a world without a single city, a single footprint, or a single human thought. Below you, the water stretches out in every direction, an infinite, crystalline expanse of turquoise and deep indigo, warm as a bath, cradling you in weightless tranquility. In this era, the oceans are not merely alive, they are sovereign. The continents exist as dark, quiet landmasses, largely silent and bare, while the sea is where the universe pours all of its creative energy. But this is a very different ocean from the one we left behind. A profound transformation has swept through the water, a silent revolution forged in stone and bone. Look down into the clear blue depths beneath your feet. Gliding effortlessly through the sunlit rays is a creature that marks one of the greatest leaps in the history of life. In the earlier ages, the creatures of the sea could only filter, scrape, or vacuum the world around them through soft, fixed openings. But here, swimming with purpose and grace, are the first creatures equipped with jaws. The evolution of the jaw changed everything. It transformed the ocean from a world of passive grazing into a realm of dynamic interaction, of intention, strategy, and keen awareness. With the hinged jaw, bone met bone, enabling life to grasp, to hold, to crush, and to choose. It granted creatures a direct, active relationship with their environment, opening up vast, new horizons of possibility. As you drift further over an ancient, sprawling coral reef made of delicate horn corals and golden sponge mounds, a heavy shadow glides out from the deep, twilight blue. The water grows still around you. Swimming slowly through the sunlit reef is a giant that commands absolute reverence. Dunkleosteus, it moves not with the rapid, frantic energy of modern fish, but with a slow, majestic power that vibrates through the water column. Dunkleosteus is a creature of immense proportions, a living fortress measuring as long as a sailboat. Its front half is encased in thick, dark plates of natural armor, like a knight forged from black iron and stone. Its head is massive, sculpted from heavy bone, and instead of soft teeth, its jaws are lined with razor-sharp, self-sharpening plates of bare, exposed bone that snap together with crushing force. Yet, as you watch this titan move through the water, there is no fear in this space, only a deep, hypnotic sense of awe. Dunkleosteus glides with effortless weightlessness, its heavy, armored front balanced by a sleek, powerful tail that sweeps side to side in a rhythmic, soothing motion. It is the absolute monarch of the Devonian seas, a masterpiece of biological engineering from an age when life protected itself in suits of solid rock. And alongside these armored giants, another legendary form is taking shape in the deep shadows of the open ocean. Gliding through the sunlit shafts of blue water are the very first sharks. They are sleek, streamlined, and lithe, their bodies built not from heavy bone, but from flexible, light cartilage. Their skin is rough, like fine sand, catching the sunlight in subtle shades of slate gray and silver. They move with an ancient, perfect efficiency that will carry their design virtually unchanged across hundreds of millions of years into the far future. Floating here in the warm, cradling current, you can feel the profound abundance of this ancient sea. The water is alive with movement. Schools of small, glittering armored fish swim in synchronized ribbons, turning together like a single silver organism as the sunlight catches their scales. Primitive, spiny sharks with long, delicate fins glide above beds of sea lilies that sway in the slow, eternal cadence of the tide. There is a deep, soothing rhythm to this world. The ocean breathes in long, timeless swells. The water wraps around you, perfectly temperate, supporting your weight, easing every tension, inviting you to let go and simply float in the vast, peaceful embrace of the primeval sea. As the sun begins its slow golden descent toward the western horizon, painting the surface of the water in hues of liquid copper, rose, and warm amber, let your gaze shift away from the deep ocean toward the edge of the world. Follow the gentle drift of the current as it carries us toward the shore. The deep blue of the open sea gradually softens into the pale, tranquil green of a wide, shallow river delta. Here, where the fresh water of the land meets the salty tide of the sea, the world becomes still, quiet, and warm. Look upon the land rising gently from the water's edge. For billions of years, the continents were cold, empty expanses of bare basalt, red dust, and jagged stone. But now, in the late Devonian, the very first green is beginning to creep across the earth. Along the muddy banks of the rivers stand ancient, strange forests, not of pine or oak, but of giant club mosses, primitive ferns, and tall, leafless green stems rising like slender pillars into the quiet air. There are no flowers here. There are no fruits, no songs of birds, no chirping of crickets in the evening breeze. The land is a sanctuary of absolute silence, broken only by the soft, steady lap of the water against the muddy shore and the gentle sigh of the wind passing through the green stalks. In these warm, murky shallows of the river delta, where oxygen levels in the water often drop low under the afternoon sun, life encounters a new challenge and a brilliant new opportunity. Drifting among the submerged roots and fallen stems of primitive plants, you spot a remarkable creature resting in the sun-warmed, shallow water. It is a lobe-finned fish, its body covered in heavy, diamond-shaped scales that glisten like wet copper in the fading light. But unlike the delicate, fan-like fins of the open ocean swimmers, this creature's fins are thick, fleshy, and muscular, supported by sturdy internal bones, bones that mirror the arm and leg structures of every land animal that will ever follow. Watch this creature as it rests in the shallow, still water, where the mud almost touches its belly. The water here is thick with sediment, holding little air. But instead of retreating to the deep sea, this pioneer does something extraordinary. Slowly, effortlessly, it lifts its wide, flat head above the surface of the water. Its dark, glossy eyes blink in the clear air. It opens its mouth and takes a deep, quiet gulp of the atmosphere above, filling a primitive internal air sac, a precursor to the lung. For a brief, magical moment, a creature born of the ocean breathes the open sky. Feel the profound stillness of this moment. The sun hangs low and large on the horizon, casting a long, glowing path of gold across the calm surface of the estuary. The air is warm, heavy with the clean scent of damp earth, moss, and sweet river silt. The lobe-finned fish rests at the boundary of two entirely different universes, the vast, ancient world of the water behind it, and the empty, unexplored world of the land before it. Slowly, using its thick, muscular fins like small, deliberate limbs, the creature props itself up in the shallows. It feels the firm, solid texture of the muddy bank beneath its weight. It pulls its body forward just an inch or two, lifting its chest out of the water, its tail still trailing in the safety of the warm river. For a few fleeting heartbeats, it stands at the edge of creation. It is the very first time a vertebrate has felt the dry touch of the land, the unfiltered warmth of the sun upon its skin, and the unrestricted open air moving through its body. It is a moment pregnant with the future, holding within its quiet stillness the distant promise of forests, of footsteps, of wings, and of human dreams. And then, with a slow, graceful sweep of its tail, the creature slips gently backward. It slides off the muddy bank, sinking smoothly down into the cool, cradling embrace of the clear, dark water. The ripples spread outward across the surface of the river, evening out until the water becomes a perfect, dark mirror once more. The creature retreats into the safety of its home, satisfied for now. There is no rush. Evolution does not hurry. The land will wait, the air will wait, and the future will unfold in its own perfect, unhurried time. The sun dips below the edge of the world, brushing the sky with sweeping strokes of deep indigo, violet, and soft velvet black. The stars begin to emerge, one by one, shining down upon a peaceful world suspended between the sea and the land. The great armored fish of the deep ocean swims silently beneath the starlight. The shallow river deltas grow dark and still, resting under the gentle pull of the moon. The world settles into a deep, meditative slumber, holding the memory of that first tentative step safe within its ancient heart. As you lie here tonight, safe and warm in your bed, let your mind rest in that same quiet space at the water's edge. Feel your breath rhythmically rising and falling, slow and steady, like the gentle tide washing over the warm, dark silt of the Devonian shore. You carry that same ancient memory within you, the strength of that sturdy backbone, the calm wisdom of the deep sea, and the courage of the first creature that reached out toward a new world. Allow yourself to drift weightlessly now, floating back into the cool, dark waters of time. Let go of every thought, every worry, and every weight of the day. The vast, serene ocean of sleep is holding you safe, still, and completely at rest. Sink down, slowly and peacefully, into the quiet, starlit depths of sleep, fast asleep in the arms of the timeless world. Chapter 5: Rise of the Forests. When we last rested in these ancient realms, during the late Devonian, the oceans held dominion over the earth, while the continents sat mostly silent and bare. But along the river deltas, where the fresh water met the salt tide, a quiet miracle was taking place. A single lobe-finned pioneer lifted its head above the warm shallows, taking the very first gulp of open air before sliding back into the safety of the sea. It left behind an invitation, an unspoken promise that the dry land would not remain empty forever. Now, as we float forward through tens of millions of forgotten years into the Carboniferous period, that quiet promise has erupted into a sprawling, infinite sanctuary of green. Welcome to the rise of the forests, a time when the earth became a single, emerald heart, beating with a lush and dizzying vitality the likes of which our world will never see again. Imagine standing at the edge of an ancient coal swamp forest 300 million years ago. The world is bathed in an eternal, warm green twilight. The sun, high in the sky, cannot pierce the dense, overlapping canopy far above, sending only soft, golden ribbons of light filtering down through a thick sea of leaves and giant fronds. The air is warm, heavy, and thick with moisture, holding you in a gentle, humid bath that smells of damp earth, rich soil, and ancient moss. Look upward into the cathedral-like heights of this primordial forest. These are not the familiar trees of our modern world. There are no sturdy oaks, no fragrant pines, no delicate maples. Instead, towering over 30 meters into the warm sky are giant club mosses and primitive horsetails, scaled like ancient serpents. Their long, straight trunks reach toward the clouds without branching, capped at the very top by massive plumes of slender, bright green leaves. Below them, giant ferns spread their feathery fronds like immense green emerald stars, interlocking to form a roof so dense that time itself seems to slow down beneath its shade. Every surface is covered in life. Soft, deep beds of moss carpet the wet earth, so thick that every step on this ancient floor would feel like sinking into a bed of down. Spores drift through the still air like golden dust, suspended in clear water, floating lazily through the shafts of light, settling upon giant, rotting trunks that have fallen into the shallow, quiet swamp waters below. Listen to the soundscape of this endless green world. It is a slow, rhythmic symphony of absolute tranquility. You hear the steady, hypnotic drip of moisture falling from leaf to leaf, tap, tap, drop, echoing softly through the vast, dim colonnades of the forest. The air hums with a deep, soothing resonance, filled with the gentle, unseen rustle of giant leaves in a soft, tropical breeze that smells of pure life. And in this hyper-oxygenated sanctuary, where the atmosphere holds a richness of air that feels almost weightless to breathe, the creatures of the undergrowth have grown to astounding proportions, gliding lazily through the humid shadows. High above the forest floor is Meganura, a dragonfly as large as an eagle. Its 4 gossamer wings, clear and glittering like polished crystal in the sunbeams, make a soft, low, rhythmic whirring sound as it drifts through the air. It does not fly with frantic haste. It floats like a spirit of the green twilight, moving effortlessly between the massive scaled trunks of the club mosses, a master of a sky that has never known a bird or a mammal. Down upon the damp, mossy ground, giant millipedes, as long as a person creeps smoothly through the fallen vegetation, their countless legs moving in mesmerizing wave-like rhythms over the soft soil. Amphibians, large and resting comfortably in the sun-warmed shallows, sing to one another across the mist-covered pools in long, low, resonant calls that vibrate gently through the humid air. And hidden among the roots of a giant fern, a small, remarkable creature steps carefully across a patch of damp moss. It is tiny, with glossy scales that catch the filtered sunlight. Unlike the amphibians that must always return to the water to lay their delicate spawn, this little pioneer carries a revolutionary secret. It lays an egg wrapped in a soft, protective shell. It is one of the very first reptiles, a creature completely freed from the water, holding the design for all the great land dwellers that will ever follow. Feel the profound peace of this ancient realm. The forest stretches out across entire continents without interruption, an unbroken ocean of emerald and shadow, teeming with quiet wonder, perfectly balanced, deeply asleep in its own lush richness. Yet, even this impossible green paradise carries within it the seed of a quiet, inevitable transformation. As the centuries pile upon centuries, millions of years pass in this warm, humid dream. The giant club mosses grow, live out their long, silent lives, and eventually fall into the standing water of the vast swamps below. In those quiet, oxygen-poor waters, the fallen trees do not rot away as they would today. Instead, layer upon layer of ancient wood, giant ferns, and golden spores pile up beneath the dark water, pressed down gently by the weight of time and the endless mud washed in by quiet rivers. The vast forests slowly die, yield, and submerge, only for new giant mosses to sprout above them, repeating the eternal cycle for millions of years. Deep beneath the surface, under unimaginable pressure and the quiet warmth of the Earth's crust, these vast blankets of fallen green are slowly transformed. The sunlight, the oxygen, the water, and the life of the Carboniferous are compressed, purified, and locked away into thick, midnight black seams of stone. Chapter 6: Age of Insects. When we last rested in these ancient realms, during the height of the Carboniferous period, we looked up toward the towering canopy of giant club mosses and primitive horsetails, where green plumes brushed against a sky rich with oxygen. We watched the endless emerald mist filter down through the fronds, listening to the drip of moisture upon ancient soil. But tonight, to truly understand this lost world, we must lower our gaze. We must descend down through the humid air, past the giant ferns, down to the soft, dark carpet of the forest floor, where the true rulers of the primeval earth made their home. Imagine lying weightless upon a thick cushion of damp, ancient moss, down where the earth is rich, dark, and warm. Look around you from this low, intimate angle, where the world reveals a hidden wilderness that usually slips past unnoticed. From here, the gnarled roots of giant club mosses rise up like massive timber arches, anchoring into soil that has never known a plough, a path, or a footprint. Towering above the moss beds are vast groves of ancient fungi, their broad, pale caps gleaming softly in the emerald twilight like tiny, translucent umbrellas. Spores float down from their gills in endless, lazy streams, swirling through sunbeams like suspended golden dust. In this damp, subterranean realm beneath the leaves, the air is thick with the sweet, heavy scent of decaying wood, wet soil, and rich organic life. It is a world of endless depth and infinite texture, where every fallen leaf is an entire continent and every pool of trapped rainwater is a quiet sea. And long before the first dinosaur raised its heavy head, long before the first bird took flight, or the first mammal stirred in the shadows, this vast, humid understory belonged entirely to the insects. They were the true pioneers of the terrestrial world, the first living beings to turn away from the cradling waters of the primeval ocean and conquer the dry land in its entirety. While other lines of life were still tentatively testing the mud with soft bellies and awkward fins, the insects had already mastered the earth. They engineered lightweight, waterproof armor from chitin, developed delicate breathing networks that drew power directly from the hyperdense air, and built complex communities in the quiet dark. Listen closely to the soundscape of this low, green wilderness. It is a rhythmic, hypnotic hum, a gentle, ceaseless vibration that fills the humid air. It is the sound of millions of tiny legs moving in harmony across the bark, the soft scraping of mandibles harvesting spore dust, the gentle rustle of wing covers sliding into place. There are no birds singing in the high branches, no calls of distant beasts, no footsteps breaking the twigs. The only music in the universe is the steady, soothing heartbeat of the insect world. And in this ancient era, blessed by an atmosphere overflowing with oxygen, these quiet masters reach sizes that seem like the fabric of a dream. Look up through the arching roots into a clear shaft of golden light. Moving with breathtaking grace through the air is Meganeura, the undisputed queen of the carboniferous sky. She is a dragonfly of astonishing proportions, her shimmering wings stretching nearly 3 feet from tip to tip, the size of a modern hawk gliding through the forest shadows. Yet, despite her impressive span, her flight is entirely silent and weightless. Her 4 gossamer wings, patterned with an intricate web of delicate dark veins, catch the warm light like panels of stained glass. Watch how she hovers above a clear pool of rainwater held in the cup of a giant fern. She does not fly with the frantic, nervous energy of small modern insects. Instead, she glides with a slow, regal majesty, her long metallic blue body catching hints of emerald and copper as she turns in the air. For tens of millions of years, creatures like Meganeura owned the sky entirely. There were no hungry birds to chase them, no bats to hunt them in the dark, no rivals to challenge their airwaves. The sky was an empty canvas, and the dragonfly was its first and grandest painter. She hovers for a peaceful moment in the golden shaft of light, her large, multifaceted eyes reflecting the endless green world around her, before drifting effortlessly upward into the canopy, her translucent wings making a faint, rhythmic, whirring sound that fades softly into the quiet background hum of the forest. As the long, warm afternoon fades into evening, The golden light filtering through the high canopy shifts into shades of soft amber, plum, and deep indigo. The temperature drops just slightly, bringing a fresh, cool breeze that rustles the giant fern fronds far above. The moisture in the air condenses, creating a fine, silvery mist that settles gently over the moss beds, resting on the quiet caps of the mushrooms and brushing against the dark armor of the sleeping creatures below. Night descends over the Carboniferous forest, vast, cool, and filled with stars that shine down through the gaps in the high green roof. Down on the forest floor, the day shift settles into rest. Arthropleura coils its long, armored body into a safe, comfortable circle beneath the sheltering roots of a giant club moss. High above, suspended from a soft fern frond, Meganeura folds her magnificent, crystalline wings, resting in the quiet dark. And yet, the world does not go silent. A soft, bioluminescent glow begins to emanate from the damp soil. Tiny larval beetles and ancient fungal threads shining with delicate pale green and soft blue lights, turning the dark forest floor into a mirror of the night sky above. The gentle hum of the night insects takes over, a slow, soothing lullaby vibrating softly through the damp wood and rich soil. It is humbling to realize that though the giant club mosses have long since turned to stone, and though Meganeura and Arthropleura have yielded their grand sizes to history, their legacy never truly left us. Look closely at the world around you today. When a modern dragonfly hovers over a quiet summer pond, her clear wings catching the afternoon sun, she is carrying the exact same flight plan forged by Meganeura 300 million years ago. When a tiny ladybug climbs a blade of grass, or a beetle rustles softly through autumn leaves, or a bee hums lazily among springtime flowers, you are listening to the unbroken voice of the deep past. They are living relics of an ancient kingdom, quiet survivors who watched the dinosaurs rise and fall, watched the continents drift and reshape, and watched the first humans step out onto the savannah. They are still here, surrounding us in our gardens, our forests, and our quiet night air barely changed, carrying the ancient memory of the primeval green world within their delicate chitin shells. As you lie here tonight, safe, warm, and resting in your bed, feel your breath slow down to match the deep, timeless rhythm of that ancient forest floor. Inhale the cool, calm air, feeling it restore every part of your body, and exhale slowly, letting go of every thought, every responsibility, and every worry of the day. You are part of this grand, enduring stream of life. The same steady air that lifted the wings of the first flying creatures flows gently through you now, filling you with peace and quiet comfort. The ancient mushroom groves are resting in the cool night mist. The great dragonfly rests her glittering wings beneath the starlit canopy. The forest floor is still, dark, and cradled in the soft, eternal hum of a world at peace. Chapter 7. First Vertebrates on Land. When we last rested in these ancient realms, we were low to the ground in the dense, humid darkness of the Carboniferous coal swamps, listening to the drip of endless rain and the gentle, rhythmic hum of giant insects. We watched as tiny, glossy-scaled pioneers began to test the edges of the moss beds. But tonight, we step out into the open sun, following the slow, arduous march of life as it leaves the cradling buoyancy of the water forever and steps out onto the harsh, dry stage of the land. Imagine standing on a sun-drenched riverbank during the dawn of the Permian era. For hundreds of millions of years, the water had been the ultimate sanctuary. In the sea and the river, the world was weightless. The water carried every limb, supported every spine, and kept every delicate gill bathed in life-giving moisture. To leave the water was to step into an alien world, a realm of crushing, invisible weight, blinding brightness, and a thirsty, drying air that threatened to evaporate the very essence of life. Think of those first brave pioneers, creatures like Tiktaalik and the early tetrapods, peering out from the safety of the shallow, reedy shallows. To step onto land was to reinvent every fundamental aspect of existence. Without the ocean to hold them, gravity pressed down on them with sudden, relentless force. Muscles had to be forged to lift bellies from the dirt. Ribs had to strengthen into bone cages to keep heavy lungs from collapsing under their own weight. The open air was a dazzling, blinding expanse, requiring eyes that could see through air rather than liquid, and skin that could seal in moisture against the hot, baking wind. For millions of years, the first true amphibians remained tied to the water's edge by an invisible chain. They could walk upon the mud and breathe the air through primitive lungs, but when it came time to create new life, they had to return to the warm, stagnant pools to lay their delicate, gel-covered eggs. They were creatures of two worlds, forever returning to the cradle that birthed them. Then came a quiet revolution, a design so profound in its simplicity that it unlocked entire continents. Life invented the shelled, amniotic egg, a self-contained miniature ocean wrapped in a tough, protective skin. Within that tiny, portable sanctuary, a young creature could float, grow, and breathe safely on dry land, far from the riverbanks and lakes. The chain was broken. Vertebrates were no longer visitors to the land. They were its new inhabitants. As the wet swamp forests of the Carboniferous slowly faded, giving way to the vast, open plains, red deserts, and sweeping fern savannas of the Permian, life spread outward across the globe. The landscape broadened into immense horizons of red earth and golden grasses, bathed in clear, crisp sunlight. And strolling across these dry, primeval expanses came new titans, creatures unlike anything the world had ever seen. Imagine watching from the shade of an ancient conifer as a magnificent dimetrodon glides slowly through the high ferns. Though often mistaken for a dinosaur, this magnificent creature is something far closer to our own story, a synapsid, a distant and ancient relative of the mammals. Rising high above its sturdy, muscular back is a breathtaking fan-like sail of skin and bone, catching the long golden rays of the early morning sun. As the morning light warms the blood circulating through its grand sail, the creature awakens fully, its heavy tail sweeping rhythmically over the dry red dust, its dark eyes scanning the broad horizon with calm, focused intelligence. All across the great supercontinent, vertebrate life was claiming every valley, every river bend, and every sunlit hill. Armored herbivores grazed peacefully on tough Permian foliage, their sturdy legs leaving deep, deliberate footprints in the sun-baked mud. Sleek, fast-moving hunters darted through the low brush. The land, once an empty, silent desert of bare stone and dust, was now a vibrant, interconnected ecosystem, humming with purpose and breath. Feel the profound sense of arrival resting over this ancient world. Life had fought through fire and ice, through toxic atmospheres and boiling seas, through the dark depths of the ocean and the humid shadows of the swamps, to stand proudly on solid earth beneath the vast open sky. It had conquered the weight of gravity, mastered the dry wind, and unlocked the freedom of the dry land. There would be grand, terrible challenges ahead: mass extinctions, fiery cataclysms, and the rise of towering monsters. But the vertebrates had claimed the earth, and they would never look back. As the Permian sun set slowly over the vast red plains, casting long, peaceful shadows across the fern-covered hills, a cool, quiet breeze sweeps over the continent. The sail-backed Dimetrodon settles down into a hollow of warm sand, folding its heavy limbs and resting its great head upon the cool earth. The star-filled sky spreads out above, clear, vast, and silent, watching over a world that is fully, magnificently alive. As you lie here tonight, safe, warm, and supported in your bed, feel your own body resting heavily upon the mattress. Feel the quiet power of your spine, the easy automatic rhythm of your lungs drawing in cool air, and the deep, steady warmth in your chest. You carry the legacy of those ancient land pioneers in every bone, every breath, and every quiet heartbeat. Allow yourself to sink deeper into the soft, comforting darkness. Feel the crushing weight of the day melt away into complete, weightless calm. The vast, peaceful world of the past is at rest now. Chapter 8. The Great Dying. 252 million years ago, the grand, vibrant world of the Permian began to slowly unravel. It was not a sudden, blinding flash from the sky, but a long, tragic twilight that stretched across thousands of years. Far to the north, in the region we now call Siberia, the earth fractured open. Vast, glowing rivers of liquid stone burst forth from deep beneath the crust, bleeding across millions of miles of land. Millions of cubic miles of molten rock poured onto the surface, igniting ancient coal seams, boiling the rivers, and spewing endless plumes of dark, ash-filled gas into the sky. A heavy, suffocating shadow blanketed the sun. The air grew thick, warm, and bitter with sulfur, trapping the heat of the planet in an inescapable, stifling hug. Rain fell from the bruised purple sky, but it was rain made of acid, washing over the lush fern forests, stripping the leaves from the trees, and melting the soil into barren mud. The great forests that had breathed life into the continents for eons began to wither. One by one, the vast green worlds fell silent, and as the land grew quiet, the oceans followed. The relentless heat seeped deep into the waves, turning the cool, crystal blue seas into stagnant, breathless depths. Without oxygen, the waters acidified, dissolving the delicate shells of the ancient sea lilies and reef builders. The vast, teeming kingdoms of the ocean, the trilobites, the sea scorpions, the ancient corals gently faded away, slipping into the dark mud of the sea floor. 96% of all marine life vanished into the quiet depths. 7 out of every 10 species on land quietly ceased to be. It was the Great Dying, the closest our living planet ever came to absolute silence. Yet, in the midst of this overwhelming, sorrowful calm, the flame of life was never entirely extinguished. As the ash slowly settled and the volcanoes at last grew dormant, the world sat nearly empty, stripped down to its bare, beautiful bones. In the vast, silent plains beneath a pale, clearing sky, a few tiny, resilient survivors stirred in the dust. A small, burrowing relative of mammals emerged from its underground sanctuary, taking a slow, hesitant breath of the fresh, clean air. The worst had passed. The air was clearing, the oceans were calming, and the earth was resting, gathering its strength in the deep, peaceful quiet. Life had survived its darkest night, and in the silence of an empty world, the long, gentle journey toward a new dawn was already beginning. Feel the quiet, unshakable peace of that empty earth surrounding you now. The world is safe, at rest. Chapter 9: Rise of Reptiles. In the wake of the great cataclysm, the Triassic world awoke to a vast, peaceful stillness. The air was warm, rich with a dry, baked heat that smelled of sun-drenched stone, iron-rich earth, and the sweet, resinous sap of early conifers. Across the immense, unbroken supercontinent, red deserts stretched out under pale blue skies, but along the edges of winding river valleys and quiet oasis pools, a tender green was creeping back. Life, resilient and unyielding, was reclaiming the empty canvas, and in this new, sunlit morning of the world, a new family of creatures stepped out from the shadows, the archosaurs, the ruling reptiles. Along the muddy riverbanks, heavy, crocodile-like ancestors glided silently through the warm, golden shallows, their armored backs basking in the heat, their dark eyes watching a world brimming with fresh possibility. They ruled the waters with calm, ancient authority, mastering the rivers and the lush estuaries. Yet, at the fringes of these vast, red landscapes, among the low fern scrub and sun-baked hills, smaller, quicker shadows were moving. Timid at first, tiny bipedal pioneers scurried across the open ground. They carried light, nimble frames, balancing effortlessly on 2 slender legs, their long tails swaying in hypnotic rhythm as they darted through the sunbeams. They were the proto-dinosaurs, modest, unassuming, yet built with an inner fire, a higher energy, and a grace the world had never before seen. As the sun sank slowly beneath the crimson Triassic horizon, casting long, violet shadows across the dry earth, these small runners gathered at the crest of a red sandstone ridge. Standing tall against the glowing dusk, one of them turned its head to watch the stars emerge in the cooling sky. It was small, no larger than a child, but within its bones lived the blueprint of giants. Something entirely new, powerful, and magnificent had arrived. The age of monsters was quietly dawning. Feel the deep, unshakable warmth of that ancient evening settling over you now. Chapter 10: The Triassic Rebirth. Imagine standing at the very heart of this immense supercontinent, a land so vast that the ocean feels like a distant memory. The interior is a sweeping expanse of sun-baked red earth and hot, dry air, framed by lush, monsoon-swept coasts where giant conifers reach toward pale blue skies. The Triassic is a world in motion, floating gracefully between the lost past and an unwritten future. In the sunlit open spaces, tiny proto-dinosaurs have grown, transformed, and multiplied. They are no longer timid wanderers at the fringes. They move with fluid, confident grace across the red plains. In the tall branches above, the very first flying reptiles take to the thermal breezes, their leather-like wings catching the golden light as they glide silently over the fern valleys. And down beneath the sheltering roots of giant trees, tucked away in the cool, velvety darkness of the soil, the very first mammals stir. Tiny, warm-blooded, and nocturnal, they rest through the heat of the day, waiting for the soft starlight to emerge before venturing out into a world ruled by reptiles. As the Triassic draws to its gentle close, another quiet shift ripples through the atmosphere, a slow, sweeping extinction that clears the crowded stage once more. The heavy shadows fade. Chapter 11. The stage is set. The great supercontinent of Pangaea is gently fracturing, pulling apart to let the warm turquoise seas flood inward, carving out thousands of miles of fresh coastlines, lush island chains, and moisture-rich valleys. The planet is breathing out a soft, tropical warmth that nurtures vast, unbroken wildernesses of giant conifers, towering tree ferns, and sweeping ginkgo groves. The stage is no longer waiting. The grand actors have arrived. Across the sunlit plains, the first true giants tread upon the earth, sauropods with necks like towering trees, their deep, rhythmic footfalls vibrating softly through the rich soil as they graze under open, indigo skies. Nimble, sharp-eyed predators move like shadows through the dappled green twilight of the forests. In the warm, crystal-clear oceans, sleek ichthyosaurs and long-necked plesiosaurs glide with breathtaking speed through underwater canyons, while high above, leather-winged pterosaurs soar on warm updrafts, casting long, peaceful shadows over a teeming world. This is the golden template of the primeval Earth, a world that is vast, thriving, and magnificent beyond measure, destined to endure for countless generations. Chapter 12. A World Without Us. Imagine standing on a high cliff overlooking any of those lost, magnificent worlds, the glowing magma oceans of the early Earth, the turquoise shallows of the first cyanobacteria, the dense, humid darkness of the coal forests, or the sun-drenched red plains of the Triassic. There are no roads here. There are no glittering cities, no hum of engines, no human voices floating on the evening wind, and no footprints in the sand. You are standing in the purest version of our home, a planet simply breathing through its long, slow life. It is a world that does not know our hurry, our worries, or our measure of time. Millions of years pass like falling leaves, oceans rise and fall in a single heartbeat, and continents drift like quiet clouds across the face of the deep. You are a part of this grand, unbroken story forged from the same ancient dust, breathed into life by the same ancient oceans, and cradled by the same timeless stars. Now, you are deep in time, Far beyond the noise and friction of the modern world, everything is calm, everything is safe. The ancient earth is gently at rest, holding you in the oldest, deepest silence there is. Fade out slowly, peacefully, and sleep.